The first hint of trouble came when I spotted a smear of lipstick on my goat, right between her Aisa bold, cherry red mark like someone had decided she needed a makeover. Out here on my ranch, parties don't usually end with animals looking like they've stumbled back from a wild night in Vegas, but there was my oldest goat, Matilda, blinking at me like she'd seen things she'd rather forget. That's when I noticed the hay half trampled, dusted with glitter, and strewn around like a wedding had brawled with a dust storm and lost. I stepped into the barn and froze. My workbench was littered with red Solo cups, a trail of confetti snaked toward the stalls, and someone had duct taped a disco ball to the rafters. A disco ball. In a livestock barn. The air reeked of cheap rose, spilled perfume, and something that felt a lot like betrayal. High heel scuffs marred the dirt floor, a pair of cracked sunglasses lay by the feed bin, and most insulting of all, my emergency grain bucket was gone, swapped for what looked like a champagne cooler crafted from my best galvanized steel pail. I bolted to the security monitor in the loft. Blank. No footage. The system had been wiped clean. My gut sank. Either someone knew exactly what they were doing or they'd gotten insanely lucky. I'd spent years rigging this place with smart tech not just for security, but because I cherished this land. This barn wasn't just a structure, it was my refuge, rebuilt with my late grandfather after a storm claimed the original. He used to say, respect the land, or the land will remember you. Standing there, I was starting to grasp what he meant. Outside, my cows huddled suspiciously far from the barn like they'd witnessed something they weren't ready to discuss. One of them, Daisy, still had a party streamer dangling from her horn. I followed the glitter trail to the side fence and spotted tire tracks, fancy ones, low profile, not the kind you'd see on a farm truck. Then I found my first clue. A glossy laminated cocktail menu wedged under a post. Rustic Elegance. A barn affair, hosted by Linda M. I squinted at the logo in the corner. The HOA. Of course. Linda, the local HOA president and self-appointed dictator, had always acted like she ruled the county. She was the type to fine you for too many daisies in your yard or ban wind chimes for noise pollution. I didn't live in her precious HOA neighborhood. 30 acres of inherited ranch land sat right next to her suburban empire, and she hated that she couldn't control me. She'd filed complaints, threatened to improve my VYW, claimed my fence was 2 feet too high. Nothing stuck. Now it seemed she'd escalated to breaking and entering. I stormed into town, clutching that drink menu like a warrant. My buddy Jake was at the diner, sipping coffee and looking like he'd tangled with a swarm of bees. Heard about your barn? He asked without glancing up. I'm hearing it now, I snapped. She was bragging at the HOA meeting last night, Jake said. Said something like, he's not using it, so I made it gorgeous. Everyone loved it. She even hired a DJ, some kid with a fog machine and speakers taped to a hay rake. I couldn't believe I'd, or rather I could, but I couldn't believe she thought there'd be no fallout. She turned my family barn into her personal party hall without so much as a text, expecting me to shrug it off. That's when I snapped. Linda didn't know what I built into that barn. She didn't know about the zone-based sprinklers I'd installed for climate control, the smart floor sensors, the hidden PA system, the programmable lights, the hay drop pulleys, or the multi-nozzle scent rig I'd rigged up as a pest deterrent and a potential party ruiner. She didn't know, but she was about to find out. I got to work. I tidied just enough to conceal the tech, replaced the grain bucket, recalibrated the sprinklers to activate in waves starting with a light mist, then building to a full deluge like Neptune himself had RSVP'd. I mixed skunk musk and stale cologne into the scent system, set the lights to strobe like a rave, and loaded the PA with goat bleats and chicken clucks. Best of all, I upgraded the cameras to back up wirelessly to a cloud server with facial recognition. I'd have proof, glorious shareable proof. Soon flyers popped up around town. Linda had announced Barn Bash 2.0, an exclusive rustic gathering for HOA elites and VIPs. I RSVP'd anonymously with a burner account to keep tabs. Staring at the invite, I felt a pang. This barn was where I'd sat with my grandfather, learning to mend fences and feel the breeze. Now it was a backdrop for rose-fueled selfies. It pissed me off, but more than that, it fueled me. This wasn't just revenge, it was justice with a theatrical twist and a fire hose finish. The week before the event hummed with quiet tension, like the hush before fireworks finale. Linda, clueless about the trap, went all in on planning glossier flyers, door-to-door pitches about a chic barn soiree, with hors d'oeuvres, craft cocktails, a string quartet, and a surprise performance, probably her husband fake crooning Sinatra again. I prepped the barn. Anti-slip coating on the floors, soap mist for chaos, sprinklers timed for a slow build flood. I added random animal screams and eerie banjo riffs to the sound system. Wet, confused, and spooked by minor key banjo is a panic cocktail like no other. To throw her off, I faked a vacation, posted old fishing trip photos, updated my voicemail to say I was off-grid for 10 days. In reality, I stocked the loft with snacks, charged my gear, and brought in my cat, Pepper, for moral support in mischief at VYC. I enlisted Jake too. His place smelled of smoked honey and beeswax, and he greeted me with a crossbow in one hand and a sandwich in the other. He loved the plan, volunteering extra distractions and offering a scent bomb: skunk, old gym socks, and rotten onions. We dubbed it Linda's Reckoning. We spent days rigging the barn, micro firecrackers for fake sparks, disguised strobe lights, a fog machine tucked behind hay bales. The animals stayed safe. Matilda and the goats went to Jake's, the cows to the lower field. The night before, one of Linda's lackeys, a woman named Cheryl who wore indoor sunglasses and called everyone "sweetie," scoped out the barn with a clipboard, muttering about twinkle lights and catering setups. She didn't check for me, just taped a VIP parking sign to my fence and left. By morning, I was in stealth mode, truck hidden, me in the loft with snacks, drinks, power banks, Wi-Fi, and a remote labeled Chaos. Screens flickered on, showing every angle. It was quiet for now. At 6 p.m., a white SUV rolled up, plates reading Queen P. Linda emerged in a sequin gown that glittered like she'd mugged a disco ball. Her posse followed, overdressed and oblivious, lugging a gold-lettered cooler and raffle tickets. Soon, the barn glowed with fairy lights and a massive DJ booth. Linda toasted to taking something forgotten and making it stunning. I nearly spat out my soda. The DJ cranked pop country remixes perfect for folks who line dance annually and call it heritage. They swayed, snapped selfies by my hay bales, knocked over tools, shrieked at goat poop. I bided my time. When Linda grabbed the mic to announce a Best Boots raffle, I hit the first button. Sprinkler Zone 1 hissed Olivia faint mist. People squinted up, puzzled. Linda waved it off as rustic humidity. Then Zone 2 kicked in cold bursts. Makeup ran, hair flattened, the DJ scrambled to shield his gear. Zone 3 unleashed strobes and fog. Linda's Reckoning hit the air. People gagged, slipped on soapy floors, bolted for exits blocked by hay bales. I dropped dramatic but safe. Linda, drenched and mascara-streaked, shrieked into the chaos. I grabbed the mic. Hey, Linda. Thanks for picking my barn. Tag me next time, you should have asked. The final sprinkler wave soaked her gown. Guests fled, barefoot and cursing, dignity in tatters. I leaned back, Pepper purring beside me, and grinned. This was just the start. By morning, the footage was online: Reddit, TikTok, YouTube. Linda flooded by barn owner after illegal bash. It hit 100,000 views by noon, hashtags like the barn justice and the soaked and entitled trending. A news station ran it with barn animal reenactments. TikTok turned the goat screams into a remix. Linda's own words from the HOA meeting: "He wasn't using it. I improved it," sealed her fate. I sent the clip to the HOA board. Their treasurer called, panicked, offering apologies and asking what I wanted. "Linda gone," I said. He sighed. That might already be underway. Complaints piled up. Her funds demanded, shoes ruined, her presidency teetering. That night, I sat on my porch, drink in hand, watching the sunset over a quiet barn. Matilda headbutted a bucket in approval. Justice had been served, wet, smelly, and unforgettable. Linda's downfall was just beginning, but I'd already won. The land remembered, and so would she.